Having every team member actively participating in Agile Sprint Retrospectives is a big challenge for many team leads and Scrum Masters. When I interviewed today's engineering manager guest, he shared a strong and, in my opinion, highly effective best practice to make that happen with a simple habit. But before we get into that habit, it's important to understand why he even values retrospectives in the first place.
There's a lot of different things that can affect how a developer is productive. And if you're not making sure that you synchronize with your team so that everybody feels united and feels that they're working in the same direction and feels that they're contributing to the same goal, you're going to have some disconnect and you're not going to be able to achieve your objectives as well.
Jean Sebastian went on to explain how he engages even the more introverted team members in retrospectives and shared the critical tip.
When I first started doing retros with the team, a lot of the team members are very introverted. So a lot of people would not necessarily speak up unless being asked. So one of the first things I did with the team when we started doing retros is every time that we would have something on the board or something to talk about, I would take the time to go team member by team member and ask them what their opinion was on what it is we were talking about. And even if they didn't have anything to say, ask them to contribute something. And I would do this over and over and over again, every single retro and every single item. And just having somebody come up and say like, hey, no, I think it's good. No, I don't have anything to add to that. But having everybody given an opportunity to share their voice and doing it week after week after week after week starts getting people comfortable in having conversations. And I think it's one of the key things that makes synergy in a team function is by making the people that are part of that team comfortable with the ability to have conversations. Something that sometimes I find certain teams don't promote, and they expect people to speak up when asked instead of bringing people forward and saying like, hey, what do you think?
This is such a good point. To quickly summarize, first, ask every single team member for their opinion. Christian, Marie, Max, one by one. Everyone has something to contribute. Second, as people get into the habit of being asked every time, they naturally start preparing mentally and become more willing to speak up. Third, this regular practice slowly expands their comfort zone and trains them to speak in a public team setting. At this point, I wondered, doesn't this procedure potentially hurt people's enjoyment of the retro? Jean Sebastian had a very clear answer because he regularly measures the ROTI, aka Return on Time Invested score, asking how well the time was invested in the last retro on a scale from 1 to 10 to every team member.
Our satisfaction score on retros is always 9.510. So, and it's been like that for months now.
Okay, wow. So people say the time spent in their retro is extraordinarily well invested. Since they are a fully remote team, I also wanted to know which tool they use for their Agile retrospectives to have such great results. And guess what? It's Echometer.
We mostly work around Echometer to be able to do our planning in terms of making sure that the team evolves over time.
Echometer is particularly known for its mood tracker and regular health check surveys. When I asked about this feature, Jean Sebastian highlighted one thing he appreciated most. The anonymous replies help to generate honest feedback in retros.
Everything that is voting is very useful because the anonymous part of voting makes it so that everybody feels comfortable voting. So the feedback you get in these kinds of votes tend to be pretty honest, and they're very useful in terms of feedback.
I know many Agile teams use Miro or other whiteboard tools for their retrospectives, but when I asked about that, Jean Sebastian highlighted clear advantages in using the Agile retrospective tool Echometer.
I think one of the things that I find Echometer does really well is having predictable workflow that allows people that are managing the retros to be able to move the conversation along. A lot of the traditional retro tools I've seen are just kind of these boards. So they don't really have any organization around them. They're just kind of this kind of whiteboard approach where you kind of throw everything up on the board and you talk about it. And it's great for brainstorming and things like that. But when you want to have a more structured conversation and you want to make sure that everybody addresses different points, having that initial survey where people on their own time go out and fill out their own answers and then taking the time to go through retro and talking about those answers is a completely different approach than just having a whiteboard and everybody kind of just hashing it out in the moment.
Alright, so to summarize the best practice tips from today's engineering lead interview, firstly, don't hesitate to actively ask every team member for their opinion in Agile retrospectives. I mean, you are basically paying them for their expertise, so you have a right to hear it. And secondly, trying out the Echometer retro board might be worth it. You'll find an exclusive link to use it for free below this video. Have fun and see you in the next interview.